like that many more things that could go wrong.
That's true too. All right. We are live on YouTube.
Hey, YouTube.
You know what I haven't done, and I kind of wish I need to turn my phone off for one. That was my phone telling me we're live on YouTube. Thanks.
Here we are. Cool.
Not last week, whenever we'd streamed last, I don't know how long, but I swear the first 20 minutes of that stream must be unwatchable. I need to go into like YouTube editor and cut that out, and I haven't. I know we lost one subscriber on YouTube in the last 30 days, so I get it. I bet it's because of that.
What are you gonna do?
Hey, we're gonna get. This is how live streams go, though. Like I always feel so like we got to be go. It's got to like be perfect. But then you watch anybody else's live stream, and most of the time they just like start streaming, and then they just sit there and screw about for like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
that's fine.
And then they laugh about how they're now starting the show. So
right,
we're just on par with everybody else.
Right.
You know, after 11 years, you don't have to put on airs.
Right.
You know, fancy pantses.
Don't have to put on airs.
That's right.
It's another story, or I don't know why that makes me think of that commercial for CW Seed. You know what I'm talking about.
It's a long story.
It's a long story. All right. We are streaming also on Helix Rock Radio. Hey, Helix Rock Radio.
Howdy Judy.
Ooh. I don't know why that's the noise, but I did it.
Also, can you hear Melanie okay? Melanie, say some stuff.
Say some stuff.
You sound like you're behind Randy. That's what you sound like.
Oh, that's kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you got the microphone and everything for reasons.
I mean, you sound okay, but you do sound like maybe I can hear you, but
like maybe
it's
she's
not like usual.
Right back there in the same room.
Like maybe she's right in the same room.
Oh, you know what? I should actually announce on our Facebook page that we're streaming. That'd probably be a good thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's how most people find out that we're doing anything.
Update for
Blue Sky doesn't seem to be as good for local stuff, you know.
Right. Blue Sky is it's interesting. I recently it was slow. Like the people I was following, it would get up to an hour. Like I'd check it and it'd be like the last thing that anybody posted was like an hour ago. And I'm like, that's my feed is dead.
Yeah, it's maybe not a good sign. Like people are just getting off of social media, period.
Right. So I went and I actually found like a starter pack. You know, people put together lists of users.
Oh yeah.
And I avoided it because the idea of like mass following 100 plus accounts at once makes me nervous. But I was like, most of these people look cool, and if I see stuff I don't like, I'll just unfollow whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I followed all, and it's definitely helped pick up, and I've been talking to a couple cool people on there. So yeah, that helps. I
don't like talking to strangers.
Right.
It's inadvisable. We tell children not to do it ever.
But that's like the whole basis of the internet.
Stranger danger.
See, look at the state of the world. This is what they were always warning us about. This is why.
Yeah, this is the future the boomers wanted. We don't talk to anyone.
Boom.
We don't help anyone. You just have a key around your neck, and look, when you get home, you make yourself something. Don't burn the house down, kid.
The Facebook post for this is 11 years of this.
Oh man, our marketing is just getting weirder and weirder.
Right.
Our marketing is just like an old dude in a cabin that's like, oh, you found my cabin again.
It's kind of been my approach to social media. Dude, I think about it like I did the electronic musicians group and then EMC for so long, and like I think about it, I'm like, I used to be so social online. Like, what happened? I broke at a certain point, and like I don't know, man. It's
Well,
hard.
then you had to shift your gears, and your networking had to be for your work. So
Right.
like
Ooh, yeah.
networking for fun doesn't sound as fun when you got to do it all the time.
Right, right. Yeah, that definitely did change some things. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. So we didn't stream last week, which was technically, it's whenever we stream, right? But it was technically the birthday
Birthday-versary.
Yep. And I know I get it wrong every year, but this year I double checked. We've been doing Grawlix Podcast since 2014. So this is our 11th anniversary of the podcast.
Whoa.
Right. Right.
And happy belated birthday to Jesse also.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday to Jesse.
Belated anniversary to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
We what'd you do for your birthday? Didn't do anything fun?
Not a thing. It was Monday.
Right.
I mean, like we went out to a local Thai place and I got some curry. So it was authentic in the middle of Nebraska. That's
authentic Thai in the middle of Nebraska.
I sometimes want to try curry in a hurry because that's a great name. I don't even really like curry, but how can you not try that?
That's a good rhetorical device right there. Just rhyming is always a winner.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Rhyming and alliteration, man. I mean, like daredevil. There you go.
Right. Way to kind of keep us on track for a moment, at least to let people know what we will be talking about. We will be talking about Daredevil Born Again. Lately we've been going into shows and it's just like, we've been busy or whatever, been watching weird stuff that doesn't seem Grawlix. And it's just like, let's just wing it. But I felt pretty good going into this one because I was like, we got Daredevil to talk about.
Yeah.
Melanie and most of the movies aren't necessarily Grawlix stuff, but Melanie and I have actually watched a bunch of movies recently, so we can maybe mention that.
All right.
Yeah. But
I'm mad about Google.
we can talk about
that.
We can
talk about that, man.
But mad. First, how are you two doing?
I'm mad.
Okay.
No, I'm fine besides the whole Google thing.
If you're not a Google Generation 2 owner, or I think Google Audio also, why they might not know why you're mad at Google. Why are you mad at Google, Jesse?
Because none of their stuff works.
Right.
And specifically, one thing they made doesn't work anymore.
Chromecast Generation 2. That's what I meant.
Chromecast. Yeah,
right.
They're all like, they just don't work, except they do work. Like, that's the most frustrating bit to me is like, I'm looking at the screen. It's right over there, and it's telling me how hot it is outside. It's telling me what the time is. It's giving me a snazzy photo. You know what I can't do? Cast to it.
Right.
From Chrome.
Right.
Or anything.
No. You didn't factory reset yours. You're lucky.
I didn't, because I didn't like look at how to do it. Because I think it's like a button or something and you got to hold it or something, but I wasn't able to find the button. I was like, I'll just wait and I'll look it up. And then when I looked it up, I found out, oh yeah, don't do that. Like all the articles are like, Google begs people don't do that.
I wish I'd, because it is not uncommon for me to have to factory reset mine. It's usually like there's some network hiccup every so often, some hiccup. It just stops responding properly. Factory reset, got to reconnect to it and it's fine. Right. So it wasn't working that day because it was all the same day.
Right. Like
and I
Sunday,
factory
right?
reset it.
Everybody, it happened to everybody on Sunday or something, right?
I think so. Yeah. Everybody global, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I factory reset it, and then it just wouldn't connect. I couldn't get it to set. I couldn't set it back up. But the issue apparently was, maybe there's been an update on it. You sent me that article, and I read through it. I think it's a certificate issue. So it's like a hard coded thing. Basically, they set a lifespan on these of 10 years. Even if it was produced more recently than that, everything had the same. The certificate is the security
Coding.
certificate expires this time. And the like maddening thing is the Chromecast Gen 1s, theirs was set for 20 years. So those still work fine, apparently.
Oh, of course.
Right. So if you didn't factory reset, they will fix it eventually. They'll be able to do an over the air whatever. Or no, I don't know.
Supposedly they've already started rolling it out, but
Okay.
mine still doesn't work.
But if you did factory reset, it'll take a little bit longer because it also is kind of impacts like the devices, like Google. I have Google Home, so I set it up through there. They have to roll out an update for Google Home then to be able to connect to it, because Google Home's like, nope, certificate bad. So,
well, yeah, I've noticed that in Google Home it shows like it's offline.
Yeah,
and so like I can't even access it now.
So do you not have any other way to stream to the TV from?
I've got a Samsung phone, so I can use smart things, but that's laggy. And then I just, to get me through, I got one of those like USB-C to HDMI little thingies, and my phone's new enough that it has like its own little user interface for it's called Dex, Samsung Dex, and it's like its own little desktop.
Oh, sure.
I've used it in the past when like the internet at work has gone down.
Okay.
So it's not great, but it does the job. If all I want to do is watch a video, I can just open up the app. My phone actually becomes like a mouse pad, and then the television becomes like the desktop screen.
Interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's gotten me through like a hectic work day if all I need is to pull up my like PowerPoint slides and the network at work is down. So
fortunately we have a Roku device as well. I rarely use it because it's like, and it's been working good. It's been working with everything. Plex, YouTube, whatever else we're streaming on, and maybe Tubi, Prime. It works with all that stuff, but it's like it feels like an extra middleman that a lot of times, like I can connect to the Roku from my phone, but in some of the apps I have to go open it on Roku and then I can use it cast from my phone, as opposed to just like cast straight from the phone, basically.
Right.
Well, it has a remote.
It does have a remote, and that's an extra. Yeah. So then I'm double fisting. I got remote here.
Yeah, it's got it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we used to have a Roku, and then we were just like, why do we still have this? And now it's like, boy, wish we had that, huh?
Right. That Roku's pretty old too that we've got. I don't know anything about the model or anything, if Roku updates their stuff frequently or something, but it's fine.
Yep.
Melanie, how have you been?
I've been upset at the state of the country and the world. But other than that, other than everything,
well, that seems a little more important. I'm just mad that I can't escape from it.
Well, right. That's the thing. The escape. I've been on social media much less for the most part, and I've been watching a lot more, during my downtime, more just random stuff. Like I mentioned, we watch more movies. We've been watching various series. Like it's not head in the sand, But like, I feel like escapism is a little bit more important right now than at other times. You got to for your health.
Yeah. Because there's so many elements at work here, and they all feel so dumb. So yeah, you just get mad. Like I was listening, I heard about one of them doing something dumb today. Can't pronounce riboflavin. Don't know what it is. While they're at Steak and Shake, I don't know. People are dumb.
Yeah. It is impossible to avoid. And like I said, I'm not totally head in the sand, but that's also part of the reason I've been on Blue Sky more than the Zuck's platforms and stuff like that, because people in my feed do post about it. And I do check, there's the trending thing on the side, which you can hide, you can get rid of. I do check that every time I see something. I'm like, oh God, what's this now?
Yeah.
But I've got my feed down pretty well, where people that I'm following don't post too often about stuff. When they do, it's like, okay, yeah, I get you. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's too big to hide.
Right.
Kind of things.
Right. But yeah. So we were watching. I think I got sidetracked, Jesse. Oh, I did ask you about your birthday. You did nothing.
Nope.
Well, on our anniversary,
kind of last weekend was my birthday a little bit, because I went to a show. We can get into that later, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tell me about anniversary, because you were starting.
We didn't do anything.
No.
Oh man, your story about your anniversary is like,
well, it blizzarded
my birthday. Oh, that's right, it did. Yeah.
So
last week was weird.
What was that? Just like a week ago or something?
Yeah,
and it's
like
like
80 today.
80 degrees today.
Yeah. 1 week ago,
normal.
yesterday. I had no work. Yeah. It's fine. The world's not on fire.
No, it's winter. We have that comes in the spring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically spring. Technically. Spring is next week, right?
Yeah, I know. I was kidding.
But so what we did do is we low key anniversary, not Loki. And we had a movie night, and we watched what? Three?
Yeah.
We watched like 3 movies. We had a proper movie night.
Was it Star Wars 1, 2, and 3?
No.
Nor was it Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
Trilogy, or man, that's a long
Back
night.
to the Future 1, 2, and 3.
That'd be a good night. No.
Matrix 1. 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
And then the 4th one.
Oh, that's right. There is a 4th one. I forgot.
There is a 4th one.
I've already like dumped it, because it was like, kind of sort of doesn't matter.
No. Like, I didn't hate on it.
Didn't even hate it. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, and it doesn't have the same vibe as the other ones. It's just it was too different. But let me pull up. I wanted to use this to segue into what we've been consuming or watching or talking about lately, or whatever. So let me pull up my list. So we did a mix. We did a mix of old and new. We did the 2014 movie Predestination with Ethan Hawke, which is like this pretty wild time travel thing. And it's something Melanie's been on me for a while. And I was like, I think I've seen that. We've seen that. I was wrong. It's good. It's good. I don't know really. I know it's like 2014. It's 11 years old. It came out when we started Grawlix. But I don't want to give spoilers, because
you can't really talk much about it without giving away spoilers. So
I'll say it's good. I'll say it's good. And I feel like the story in written form, it's based on a story, was probably better, just because it's one of those things where the visual representation of things Like it's better if it would just be in your head. Like I feel like the twists would work better if you couldn't actually see it with your face. if anybody who's seen it knows what I'm talking about, I think. It's a recommend though. I liked it.
I usually like Ethan Hawke and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we even said that when we were watching it. He picks good movies.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of, for a long time, he was on a sci-fi kick.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of genre movies. I never think of him as a genre guy, but if you look at a lot of the stuff, he's dabbled in horror, but it's a lot of sci-fi. He likes kind of he seems to like high concept stuff, which I respect.
Mm-hmm. Next,
we jump to a new movie. Well, it came out the end of last year. Smile 2. Did you ever see Smile by chance, Jesse? It doesn't seem like your jam.
Nope.
Melanie, what did you were hot to trot. You were hot to watch this one.
Hot to trot is such an old I don't even know idiom. What to call that. Yeah, it's an idiom, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry,
I think you
derailed me there.
I liked Smile, but I think you like Smile more, so you seem more excited for the sequel.
Yeah, I had no expectations for this. It looked like trash, and it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. So I was excited to see the sequel because you knew from the what do you call them? The commercials or whatever, trailers, that so it's about a demon type thing that when it makes its host, or I guess what kind of host, or the person it's attached to, die in a horrible way in front of someone, and that's how, and the person that sees it, they pass on to them. Well, and you saw from the commercials that they was going after a music star, and so I'm like, "Ooh, how does that work?" I was excited about that, but it didn't really get into that even. So,
right, yeah, the idea is it makes you on a suicide yourself, unalive yourself, in a horrible way.
Yeah.
Basically, it makes you traumatize someone else, and that's how it then latches on to the next person. And so the idea of the main character being a pop star, where it's like, well, that somebody who can't really escape a lot of people and also has direct access to a lot of people, potentially interesting with that concept. And it was good, but it kind of played up the more like isolated pop star. Like, yeah, there's people around, but her actual like inner world is very small. So it played out a little bit differently than I expected.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good.
It's good. It's not as good as the first one, and it's not as good as I was hoping it would be.
Since the main character is a pop star, there's a few longer musical numbers. But the first one had this really weird score that's more like dark ambient than musical score, and this one carried that over, so I was glad to see that. Also, this one picks up literally just 6 days after the first one, so it is like it's a direct continuation with characters that were involved in
like Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Happy Death Day 2.
Happy Death, man, I love those movies.
Me too.
Both of those are so good.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with the third one, so maybe they don't need to do it, but I do wish there was a third one.
Well, we didn't know what they do with the second one, but look what they did.
Yeah.
Great things.
It's so weird.
Speaking of Back to the Future, that's like the Back to the Future of horror franchises. It's got that same vibe, right?
Yeah.
In a way. Maybe not. People
Something's got to be done about your kids, Marty.
Right. And then the sequel takes on kind of a new thing. I guess that's more Back to the Future 3. We just watched a video about Back to the Future 3, so it's fresh in my mind. And then we watched the 2016 Daniel Radcliffe joint, Swiss Army Man. Okay, so by Jesse's expression, I'm guessing you know nothing about.
No idea what that is, huh?
Oh, really?
This movie's ridiculous. Sometime you should look up a trailer for it. And
like he did Horns, so and Horns was ridiculous. So
oh no, this is
I don't know Horns. He loves a weird movie.
Yeah,
Horns is pretty good too.
I feel like he is Well, and he does theater, but I feel like he probably was set after growing up doing the Harry Potter franchise, and it was
He's
just
like,
like, yeah, I can do whatever I
anything
want.
else? Yeah,
Right,
that's
right.
true. Yeah,
And he just, yeah, he does interesting stuff.
he's like Ethan Hawke.
I don't think it's a spoiler to the general premise.
No.
So this guy played by Paul Dano, I think his name is kind of the main character, and he's stranded on an island, and he's gonna hang himself because he's on this little island. He's been there for whatever. When a corpse washes up on the shore, the corpse is played by Daniel Radcliffe, and for the most part, it's just a corpse, except it's very gassy enough to where he can then ride it like a jet ski to another place, another island, and then eventually the corpse ends up getting more like abilities that are useful to him. And spoilers, it does start talking. So like, it's weird, but it's like what
it also, when it starts talking, it asks a lot of questions that kind of help him with his introspection and figuring his own stuff out, which I think is the point of the movie, is like this journey of like, why do people not just say how they feel and stuff like that? And he's like, well, because
whatever.
and he's like, well, that's stupid, and it is. So it's that kind of a thing. It's like a
it's got indie drama,
yeah,
not coming of age, but indie drama, quirky dramedy vibe. The music's all like a cappella vocal music. It's got an interesting vibe, but I recommend that as well.
So not as dark as like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I mean,
dark comedy kind of like that.
Well, I mean, he's playing with a dead body the whole time. That's a little dark.
It's a little dark and kind of funny.
And gross. Like, there's a lot with body functions and stuff. I don't want to get too much into it, but
yeah.
It's good. It's good. It's one of those movies where it's like, Eternal Sunshine is not a bad comparison because it reminds me of that era of movie where it's like not necessarily overly stylistic, but still a little bit arty, a little bit art house, but at the same time, like, flatulence is such a big part of the story. You could do an interesting double feature of this and The Lighthouse, not tonally, but topically.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
I feel like a lot of Willem Dafoe movies could probably get lumped into this double feature.
That's true. But yeah, those were what we watched on our anniversary. We also watched anime movie Paprika, very famous, and Gone Girl we watched the other night from 2014. Ben Affleck, that one lady.
Rosalind Pike, maybe.
That sounds right. But that's a David Fincher movie it was a big movie from 2014, and neither of us had ever seen it. So
I didn't want to. It has Ben Affleck in it, and I'm not a Ben Affleck person, but I do love her, and I keep hearing good things about it, so I had to go watch it.
Yeah, we're watching a big. I don't think it won any Oscars, but it was definitely like probably in the talks back then. Like, it was a big movie.
Yeah,
it's almost an Interstellar deal where it's like, we probably should have seen this 10 years ago, but that's it. That would Jesse. You said a show. I'm sure you've been doing other stuff. What's up?
Yeah. So, as far as what I've seen lately, I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but also because my Chromecast doesn't work, I was like testing things out tonight, and I've got I've got like a USB-C thing. I don't remember if we talked about it on the show or off the show, but anyways, I was testing it out, and I decided that I was going to watch Moana 2. So I've seen Moana 2 now, and again, it's kind of in that family of Disney movies that are like, they're fine. You didn't need it. Moana 1 was like kind of iconic, and Moana 2 is like, it's there, and it looks like they're clearly going to try to do a Moana 3 by the end credits stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to keep going on this Moana train. I don't know how I feel about that. It was fine.
I haven't seen either of them, but fun fact
Moana 1 was good. It was good.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, the second one was a Disney Plus series that they ended up like changing their minds and recutting into a movie.
Oh, that's funny because I was thinking like this just feels like an episode, like a really long episode.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
Were you interested in the first one and all that, or was it just that you try to keep up with stuff that your students will be watching?
A little bit of both, like I like the idea that they were doing, like, I like it when they do a little bit of like culture, throw a little culture into our kid entertainment. And I haven't stayed completely up to date with Pixar stuff, but I generally enjoy a lot of the Pixar movies. And so, I mean, also the cast, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was perfect for that character of Maui. And then, yeah, but anytime you can get Alan Tudyk to voice a chicken, I'm in.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. It had a killer soundtrack. Lin-Manuel Miranda was involved in the soundtrack. So, this second one did not have Lin-Manuel Miranda in it, and you could kind of tell like the songs were fine, but they weren't like iconic and like the first one was. So,
yeah, I get it. Pixar. I've fallen so far off of all of that. I haven't watched a Pixar movie in so long, and I know some of them are really good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I get it.
I think this and Inside Out 2 are really the only ones I've really watched. Well, I guess I saw Coco way back when, but like I've just not been interested. Like Elemental, didn't care. Even tried to watch, what was it, Onward or whatever, the one with like Chris Pratt is like the brother, and they're like, it should be right up my alley. It's like about elves or something and magic, and I was like, I don't care.
Right.
It's not hooking me. So
yeah. So you went to a show or something too?
Okay, so I went to a convention. I went to the local convention that I like to go to pretty much every year, and that's kind of what I did for my birthday. Was this year I was like, you know what? I'm getting old. I don't love the commute to Lincoln and back because it's an hour just to get there, and then that means it's going to be an hour home. And so I'm saving some money, but I'm having to buy all this gas, and I'm tired and whatnot. So I thought I'm just going to change my mindset. I'm going to eat some of the, I'm going to eat what little profit I got, and it's actually going to cost me money to go do this thing, but I'm going to treat it like a staycation. And I got a hotel room for the weekend. I don't know if it helped that much, but it was nice to just be able to go upstairs and shower after I set up the booth. Cause like there's a lot of moving parts, and I did not have help for it this time. Eddie did show up later, but like as far as setting it up goes, it was just me. So by the time I was done with that, I was like kind of sweaty and stuff. I was like, you know what? I can go upstairs and take a shower because I usually bring a change of clothes anyways, but throwing change of clothes on a sweaty body is not great. So this was that part alone felt really like maybe I've made a good choice here. But so I had a pretty good weekend. It's a weird con. It's a science fiction convention, and it's a throwback to like the old style of like, mainly it's panels, it's like panels all day.
Oh, okay.
And they have a guest and whatnot, and the guest goes and does a panel, and you can also see them in the vendor room, that kind of thing. So there's not a lot of those conventions left anymore, those small conventions. Like it's all kind of become these big media expos, really, where it's like you go to see the celebrity, and then you wander around Artist Alley and see some things. And so I sold a bunch of like stuff that I have had forever, stuff that I would have like probably just discounted to death, like just put it on sale big time, or just taken it out of the bin entirely. And I had at least 2 of those things just sell, boom, boom.
Oh, nice.
Like I did a piece, I did a Mega Man piece, and it's like it's like a double-edged sword. Like part of me is like, really, that's the one you got? You know, like there's the part of me that's like, oh, good, that finally sold. And then there's the other part of me that's like, man, that's like the worst one in my box. Why'd you buy that one?
Right.
So
Right.
that kind of deal. And then I did like a Mario Goomba, like the little mushroom guy. And I was like, it was good. It's good. That's why I've kept it in there. But like nobody's bought it. And I was like, it's never going to sell. Most people could probably draw this guy. So that's probably why it's not going to sell. And then it sold to the same guy. Same guy. He really likes his old school Nintendo stuff because it's Mega Man and Goomba.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
Bought them for full price. And I'm like, okay. hopefully they didn't take my card and they're watching this and they're like, man, I should have just waited.
Right.
Dude would have practically gave it to me. Yeah. But there was a downside to the weekend, and that was that I was sandwiched between like my kryptonite, man. Like I was right next to the Nebraska Writers Guild, which means independent authors, indie man. And then on the other side was like used bookseller, like this old guy that used to work in a bookstore. And so he's just got like a bunch of like practically mint or just really old school sci-fi books, just used, but in pristine condition. So, I spent my profits, like
Right.
came home with books because he had like some old like game books and whatnot. So I've got one here that's like Liches and Vampires, and he remembered me from the year before when I bought some
Sure.
Forgotten Realms books, and he was like, I just got done pricing some game books and some D20 stuff.
Like,
and
oh yeah,
like,
this guy.
yeah, and it was something pretty good, pretty cheap. And I looked at him like, yeah, they are pretty cheap and they're in beautiful condition. So he knew his audience. And the other one, she wasn't like selling me or anything, but like I just got to talking to her, and then I had been eyeballing her book. It's called Quarantine Monster Shorts, and it's basically what were the monsters doing while we were all in lockdown.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah. And so like the first one is about a ghost who's just trying to like get this couple's attention, but really what's happening is that the couple, they're so wound up in their own pandemic lives, in like they're in the house together for the first time in probably a long time, just stuck together, right? And so all they think is like, why did you leave all of the cabinets open? Can you just close them next time? And then the other one's like, why'd you slam the door? Would you do that? You shut my light off? Man, that's passive aggressive. Knock it off. It's just this ghost is trying to get their attention. And then also like remember when there were those weird like seeds showing up in the mail? Do you remember that whole thing, part of the pandemic?
I don't think so.
Suddenly people were getting these like unusual just little packets of seeds, and some people were like they were going to grow them, and I never did find out what happened with those. But so she has a short in here which is kind of like that, but mashed up with Little Shop of Horrors. So the total flip to the moon kind of thing,
Right.
So it's like those random seeds were actually like tuies. So
nice.
Yeah. So some of them are like spooky. A lot of them are quirky and silly, and some of them are like super duper short. But it's just kind of a fun little book. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need that. I kept hearing her pitch that like all weekend long, and I was like, I love the cover. It's really just kind of fun and quirky and dumb, and so I was like, yeah, I gotta have that one. And I was thinking like, man, if I actually wrote more, I probably would join the Nebraska Writers Guild. I was like, hey, give me your pitch. Might as well. We're here. There's nobody around. It's pretty dead. Just I'm vaguely interested in it. What's going on? And they put on like conferences and stuff. And basically like the thing that appeals to me is they'll put together like these short story anthologies and these poetry anthologies, and you would get first crack at it if you were part of the guild. They also put on like workshops you can attend. You can teach workshops. You can put on speaking you can get speaking gigs through the guild, all that. And so like there's a lot of things for the real go-getter out there for your like annual membership fee or whatever. and then those conferences that they have. And a lot of that doesn't appeal to me because it means I'd have to go out and talk to people and do stuff. But aside from that, like the other networking stuff, like the anthologies and that opportunity to get your writing into more sources, that kind of sounded good. But I don't have time to write, so that would be money probably ill spent.
Is it? Yeah, is like membership, is it reasonable or?
I mean, for a year, it's pretty reasonable. It's like $40 for a year.
Right.
I mean, it's steep, but like $40, man, you can't get a subscription to most things for 40.
No, for a year. Yeah, that's not bad. But yeah, again, if you're not going to like utilize it ever, then it is.
If I'm not like constantly writing and I'm, I don't have time, or if I do have time, I would have to really start focusing, like that would have to be the thing I focused on for that year and actually get some things published. So it's something to think on maybe down the road, but not right now. Not while I got a brand new dog in the house and I'm still trying to finish out the busiest year of my entire career because I have the most kids I've ever tried to teach in a single year with the least amount of plan time. So not right now.
Sure. I got you. Well, unless you got anything else, we could jump into
oh yeah, we probably should.
Our feature topic.
Yeah, we better.
All right. Daredevil Born Again is now streaming on well, you know where it's at. Everybody knows where it's at. You know what it is, and if you don't, I don't know why you're watching this.
Yeah. How did you make it this far?
Right. There's only 3 at the time of this stream. There's only 3 episodes out, I believe. I looked up their release schedule because Melanie and I hadn't started watching it till like yesterday. We watched the 3 episodes between yesterday and today. The release schedule is weird. They dropped like 2 episodes, and then they like a week or so they dropped another one. Then they dropped 2 more, or they're gonna drop 2 more next in a week or 2 or something.
Oh, that is interesting.
It's weird, yeah.
I knew about the 2, and I just assumed they were just going to do 1 every week until the end. But that's interesting.
I think they're going to drop 2 again, and then 1. That gets them up to episode 6. There's going to be 9 total. I think they're splitting the season. I don't know.
Oh,
weird. But you mentioned it. I forgot it existed again.
Sure. Yeah.
You'd mentioned it, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I want to watch that. I don't know where to start. We're going to avoid major spoilers. I know, Melanie hates that.
Yeah.
Basically, we're going to avoid major spoilers for the beginning and the end of what we've watched.
The really important stuff.
Yeah.
I will say, it's so hard that we got to talk around things. It makes an impression off the bat because I went into it like, is Disney going to pull some punches? Because the Netflix series, all of the series went real hard. And
should have known with how happy everybody was at the very beginning. You're like, that was the bait and switch right off the bat. They were like, yeah, you're getting the Disney-fied version of this. Everybody's so happy. Everybody's groovy and chill, maybe a little too chill.
It does set a tone.
Yeah.
Because, and this is talking around both spoilers, but if things go well, get nervous. If characters, it's definitely one of those shows now where there's certain shows, I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head, but there's certain shows where if a character is happy,
Walking Dead. We haven't talked about it in a long time, but The Walking Dead was like that. Like if people are just suddenly happy, that's a red flag.
That reminds me, Invincible. I think I mentioned it before, but we recently finished the most recent series. Or no, it's still going.
Yeah, it's still going.
It's still going. In fact, I think we're at 1 episode behind. But anyway, speaking of Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, that's his whole MO is like, oh, it's fun and happy. No,
they're finally hitting their stride.
And that's when you get the most nervous.
I don't know though. In the first episode, there was somebody who literally bought a farm, and then
that was a misdirect. I was so upset. I was so upset about that. I was like, oh, this guy's done for. He's gonna retire. He's retiring in one day type deal. He literally bought the farm.
Anytime somebody's gonna retire, yeah.
But so it started. They did the Daredevil thing. They had to do it. It started with a big elaborate oneer, like faux one take. And I know the other ones, except for maybe that first hallway fight in the first season of the original Daredevil series, they're not true oneers. Like they stitch together, but it's like a one continuous sequence. And this one, you can definitely tell they stitched a lot of stuff together.
Sure.
And there was a lot of CG in it going on.
Sure.
I thought the sequence was cool. It does undermine the coolness of doing a epic one take action sequence when you can tell there's CGI digi doubles taking over, like full characters. Like, oh, that guy was CGI for a second. Like, it's weird.
Right.
It's some questionable CGI, but the concept was cool. It looked cool.
Sure.
So I'm not complaining. It was intense.
It it really did like bring back the whole Kingpin in the Hawkeye series of it all, though. It was like, man, Kingpin can just take some hits. He can get hit by a car. He can get thrown through a wall.
Oh yeah,
he gets up. You get shot in the eye. Spoilers. Kingpin's in this.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Echo ended the way it did.
At one point, I didn't notice, but at one point during that opening sequence, like Murdoch's got like 7 knives sticking in him.
Yeah. He's still wandering around, he's just like a pin cushion. But that's not what really hurts him.
So general, because I love the original series. What are your guys's? So let's talk about just our impressions since it's new. It's Born Again. What do you think of the series so far?
I think I don't like the characters again.
Right. Okay.
I think there was really only one character that I liked in the first one in the first place. And now I don't like any of them.
Yeah, the new characters are not great.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
I don't mind the new characters. I like the dynamic of the old detective that works with Murdoch now.
Yeah.
I like that.
Surprisingly cool.
But
I don't know if I like the new the gal that's just kind of
I don't know. And I don't like his love interest either.
Yeah. I don't know if we're supposed to like her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're just not as memorable.
Right. And his love interest is from the comics, so like,
Oh, so
she'll be a thing, but a little bit. I mean, the thing is like, they like to twist it, like Bullseye. The way their take on Bullseye in the Netflix series was kind of interesting, and same thing with their take on Typhoid Mary. Like it was a different take on it. It was twisting what they did with the comics, and it was more realistic and interesting in that way. They kind of went different with Bullseye this time around, where he feels a lot more like the comic book. Like they're leaning a little heavier into that.
I wish I had. I mean, of course, it'd be like 3 seasons of a show to watch, but I do kind of wish I had revisited the original series, because I didn't realize that guy. I was like, oh wait, that's that guy. He was in the other one until like way later into that sequence.
I'm surprised how much they kept, I guess, is what it seems like everything Netflix is canon so far. They haven't really said that anything isn't.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. It is, and I don't mind it. It is lighter. Although the original series wasn't like necessarily all action all the time. It was a lot of like characters like, positioning themselves and like crime stuff, and this has got that going on. It's got the crime stuff, but kind of positioning into the political stuff and lawyering stuff. I was surprised how much courtroom stuff was in it.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily bad. I know the original version of what the series was going to be was apparently a lighter tone procedural courtroom thing.
Oh yeah. So they were gonna do She-Hulk with it then? It was just gonna be like a She-Hulk spinoff?
Maybe.
I mean, that's how they introduced her to him to the Disney World.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
So I'm glad they didn't do that. And it's okay that there was a good amount of courtroom stuff in there. I like that story. It was frustrating, of course, and kind of cliche, but the vigilante-ish like angle made it kind of fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the things that like getting back to like, are they going to play it safe? Are they going to be light-hearted about all of this? You find out pretty quick that, you know, first of all, he's got a lot of knives in him. He's got a lot of knives.
Right.
Just like, man, you need a knife? Here's one. Yeah, so like the violence, there's plenty of violence,
Yeah.
even if it's fake violence. And then yeah, they're not shying away from, you know, like anybody's ticket can be punched. Anybody's up for grabs. No, all bets are off, it seems like, with maybe the exception of the Kingpin and Matt himself.
Right. Yeah, and at this right. No, you're right. They were dangerously close to like death means nothing, and they still dance around that with certain characters, but I don't like certain things that they did, but it does make sense. It does instill that, like,
Sure.
exactly what you're saying.
It's like the opposite of a fridging, though. You know, I mean, like, I mean, not the opposite of a fridging. It's like a, I don't know, a red herring fridging. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of what other. Speaking of Kingpin, his deal is interesting because I had forgotten that the end of what was the one series?
Echo.
They like fixed his brain or whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I remembered.
Melanie reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, are they going to go with that? And it does seem like they kind of retain that to where for at least part of it, you're like, is he really just going to be like, I mean, you know, he's not just going to be on the straight and narrow. He's the villain of the show. It's so, you know, he's going to be the villain, but it's like, how, is he genuinely trying to like go straight?
Right.
Go legit. But it's not really spoilers.
He gets up to some shenanigans fairly quickly on. Like at first you're just like, oh, he's just kind of a loose cannon. That's all. He's just like, he's just gonna get out of his car and capture the attention of a reporter, and he's just gonna be kind of a maverick. And then he's like, hey, check out this sandwich I bought.
Right, exactly. Like goes right back to the like crime boss mob mentality in how he's running the city or whatever.
I'm not saying I'm gonna eat this sandwich, but I'm gonna eat the sandwich.
So I like that. Him and Vanessa.
I was kind of surprised to see her in this. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe she was always, but I mean, like, I kind of like that character. I like the dynamic. It's one of the things that makes him, A, it reins him in, and B, it makes him more dangerous.
Right.
She can do both things to him, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And it definitely is like she's definitely going to pull him back towards being more of a criminal.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting dynamic.
Well, that was the whole thing. She fell in love with the angry, mean him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that he's got rid of his anger, because that one chick pulled it out of his head, now she's not attracted to him. Plus, he lost a lot of weight. I don't know. Maybe she's a chubby chaser.
You're gonna make Jesse choke on his drink.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
It's well shot for the most part. I like the bits. There's been lots of Matt Murdock roaming around, voyeurizing, easdropping,
Yeah,
doing his audio voyeur thing on city streets, and I like how it's done. And it's shot well. it's not like overly stylistic, but it's like there's some sequences and some scenes where even just like conversation scenes, which most of the show is conversations, that some interesting cinematography that I appreciate. I also noticed, and I found this very odd, is the aspect ratio is super wide. It's like 241. It's like cinema scope basically, which is very odd for a streaming series. Even, yeah, I kind of think the standard is either just go straight up 16:9, or Netflix kind of installed like a 2:1 standard where it's a little bit like on a widescreen TV. There's a little bit of the boxes, but it's not as wide as this show shot, and I found that very interesting. Nobody else is going to, except for some film nerds, I guess. But
listen, if you're a long time Grawlix podcast listener, you know that Randy has a thing about aspect ratio, and he hates how they used to do widescreen.
Dude,
reopen that can right there.
It's so interesting. Like, I found at a certain point when I realized they were taking old shows that were shot on 4:3 for TV and zooming them in and cropping out the top and bottom to fill the 16:9 TVs. I'm like, what are we doing here? We just flipped the problem. Are you kidding me? It's disgusting.
Yeah. And calling it widescreen. Yeah.
Disney, speaking of Disney Plus, they were doing that on Simpsons, and people are like, what are you doing? You're literally cropping out gags in the video, in the show. Like, stop it. But I think people are more getting, like, if it's extreme, they'll get annoyed. But I think people are, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I think people are less intolerant of like black bars on their screen, because if you're watching like YouTube, half the stuff is going to be vertical, or if you're watching stuff on TikTok, sometimes it's just a little box in the middle because it's not vertical. Like,
right,
it's a mess. It's the Wild West. Nobody cares.
Or it was shot for YouTube, but then they put it on.
TikTok, and it's so terrible. It's all like crunched in, and
I think you were about to talk about the pseudo political angle of the Punisher of it all.
I wasn't, but like we should.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were getting there, and then I derailed you with like how dark things are.
So we can talk about that's. We'll go with slight spoiler. There is, it appears as the Punisher pops up in the end of that last episode. I don't think the Punisher did.
No. Well, and also we've been getting nods. There's like certain tattoos and certain images, like it's spray painted on one of the walls at one point. Like the Punisher motif is showing up.
Who has the tattoos of it often? Are they, who are they?
Often it's law enforcement.
I love that. I think they're going to get, because Melanie was asking, like, well, is
you don't have to give me that voice.
Well, my dear boy, is a
you going Canadian
thing? Is that like
all right, boys?
The mayor thing, is that like a Trump jab? And I don't. They've done the mayor.
What, Fisk can fix it on a baseball cap?
Oh, I didn't even realize. I didn't even connect that. But that's not a new storyline. That idea of him being, and that'd be too timely. Like, the show was produced a while ago.
Yeah.
But the Punisher stuff is definitely a social commentary jab. The fact that it's showing up as tattoos on police officers. And I kind of love that, because I'm curious just how hard they're going to push that and where they're going to go with it exactly.
Because that was, it's maybe it is still a thing, but it feels like it's less so than it was, because it started to get some heavy heat for a long time. Like that's been a real life thing for a while, where you're seeing Punisher skulls on trucks and whatnot. It was co-opted by a certain group of people, and oftentimes connected with law enforcement. This idea. And it's like that. Y'all never read a single Punisher comic, did you? Because he always worked outside of the law because he didn't believe in the law because the law wasn't doing their job.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
In his mind.
Yeah. So I hope I'm very curious to see where they take that. And also, like, I think it's to the point where even Marvel was like, do we even what do we do about this? It was a kind of a problem. I don't know if they ever addressed it in the comics, but if they address it here, that'd be all right.
I'm sure they have. The problem, like that's the problem with the comics is that stuff gets buried because there's so much that's happened in the comics. The Punisher was a literal Frankenstein at one point.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, they've tried and have done just about everything.
That's the Frankencastle thing, right? Is that the Frankencastle?
Yeah, the Frankencastle. Yeah. Yeah. At one point, he had the War Machine armor. Probably one of my favorite bits with the Punisher was during the Civil War. So you're on Cap's side or your Team Cap or Team Iron Man. Punisher was very Team Cap.
Right.
It's problematic for someone like Cap.
Right. Well, I was going to say, police adopting the Punisher thing is like certain fascists, very patriotic fascists adopting the Captain America thing. It's the same kind of thing where it's like, you don't really understand the character, do you?
Yeah. You don't want to wear that. Like, he's a murderer. Like, he's an unabashed murderer. Now he thinks he's doing it for a good reason, and he's, in most of the stories, he's legitimately taking down the worst of the worst, but he's taking them down and out. Like, yeah, he's taking the law into his own hands. It's a vengeance story. For most purposes, the Punisher has no cause to actually exist in the Marvel Universe because just about any of these superhuman characters could and would find him and take him and put him away.
Right.
Well, not necessarily. A magical amulet doesn't make you bulletproof.
That's true.
That's true.
But I mean, like, some of them, like Doctor Strange could find him.
Although this kind of ties into the fact that Kingpin was shot in the face in one of these shows, and the other shows have obviously gotten to very magical stuff. And the Netflix series, Daredevil series, I'll say specifically, dabbled in it. But I do like that we did have the White Tiger thing. Mention of the amulet gives him powers, but we don't actually, it's not like we don't see him utilizing like his super
any powers. No.
You barely see him as White Tiger. So
you see him more in convenience store camera footage as the White Tiger. Yeah.
So other than Daredevil being able to take multiple stab wounds and keep fighting, they are still keeping it like street level.
Except you can fall off of a building and get up.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I mean,
and it felt like a plot hole because it's like, does he have some kind of super soldier serum? Did I miss something in season 3 of Daredevil?
There was a guy, this was many years ago, some guy in Russia jumped off a 5-story building, got up, drank a bottle of vodka, and then went up and did it again and still didn't die. So,
yeah, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, that was weird. They need to be careful with that. That's kind of like a have your cake and eat it too scenario too, where it's pretty shocking. This is getting us spoilers a bit, I guess, but Daredevil pushes him off the roof.
Does he? Yeah. Does he really push him, or does he just let him fall?
Listen, he's not. He pushed him. He pushed him. He did let him fall.
When that happened, I turned to Holly. I was like, and that's where Daredevil and Batman are different.
Right. Because Batman, depending which version you're watching, would probably still do it, but he'd give a little speech about it to I don't have to save you. Whoops.
Yeah, Batman Forever. The Batman Forever of it all. My friend Bruce, you're my friend.
Or
Two-Face.
he'd just tie a bomb around you and kick you into a sewer because you're
That's right.
doing
Yeah, the
not
Michael
important.
Keaton Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty shocking moment. Also thought he might have killed one of those cop guys, but apparently he was okay.
Well, and then just random violence on the street kind of stuff, like the stopping of the truck, that whole thing that was going on, like the absence of a Kingpin or a Vanessa in the crime world, and just how violent things have gotten.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot so far. I wish more episodes were out. I wanted to watch more. They're doing so far. They're doing great. I don't know if I can say as good as the other one, but that seems fine. It seems like a reasonable follow-up so far. I kind of hope more things do start getting moving. There was a lot of
hinting at stuff because they're already in production of season 2, and what was it? The Jessica Jones actress happened to be where they were filming recently, and that hits Twitter just to create speculation. But they had Josie's bar. That was nice to see the lights. All the same actors and actresses for that sequence was cool, and those are nice little touches that Disney doesn't have to do, but it's lends credibility to the whole thing.
Right. I was just thinking, it's like the X-Men 97 scenario where it's like you have this property. The typical thing would be like you could just cash in on it. Just cash in, throw something out, put out a product because nostalgia or whatever, recognition. Or you could do that, but also put people in charge who actually care and like understand what made the original whatever good. And it kind of seems like they got people on the show doing that. Like they understand.
Mm-hmm. They got D'Onofrio. So
yeah.
I mean, Echo had D'Onofrio.
Yeah. That guy. But that guy, like, he thinks he is the Kingpin, I think. I don't know. Like he's into this character.
Right.
Yeah. I can't wait for him to get angry.
That's the thing. I was like, even if they don't, I could see them going, he's playing it totally legit until he snaps. But they're no, he's still like, he's falling into his like criminal ways.
We're starting to see the cracks.
Right.
Especially with his most recent, like, utilizing the alternate. I mean, that's the whole thing, like the whole idea of like certain political factions utilizing the alternate media, the not so legacy media, and like that's one of the things that like the GOP has been really good about is they actually hang out on podcasts. They actually, they've embraced these new media sources, whereas the left is like, if it's not CNN or MSNBC or certain shows with a certain level, then they just don't tend to appear on those. And it's like, I thought that was a clever thing to do, to tie in this BB Urich, like have it be like an ancestor or not ancestor, but tie it back to Ben Urich somehow.
Right.
But then also make her kind of a puppet for Fisk here.
Who was responsible? Because I can't remember who was responsible for Ben Urich in the original series getting killed. Was it?
I'm pretty sure Kingpin eventually got to him.
Okay, I couldn't remember who.
Because Ben Urich was helping. Karen Page and Ben Urich were getting close to uncovering a lot of stuff, so he had to go.
Could do with more Karen Page.
Yeah, I wonder how much more we're going to get of her. I mean, especially now that they've got the new love interest. I suppose they'll bring Karen Page back in to make it weird. Also, she's in California, and isn't that where all of the awful stuff happens in the original, like, Born Again by Frank Miller?
It's been, I don't recall.
She comes back and she was a druggie in all these.
And
that's how that's how Wilson Fisk finds out that he's Daredevil in the first place, is that she lets it slip.
Oh, that'd be a weird like.
I can't see him going that route, but like
Well,
a weird time jump kind of thing happens.
It's about the
and
only other.
something-
If you wanted to like make her, because her arc in the original series was pretty dark. That's about the only way to make it darker.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't think we'll see that happen, but I think I could see her getting into trouble. You know, like because she just goes down that same route again.
Right.
Like
she's
she
gonna kill
gets
another man.
too embedded into something. You know, yeah,
Yep.
kill a man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, my worry is like they're just like, well, her arc, we did her arc, or they did her arc, so she's here, be happy,
Sure.
but we don't know what to do with her, so look at these new people.
Maybe she'll come back for season 2. Who knows?
Well, and I don't know if I even ever finished the Punisher series. I was enjoying it, but I think I fell off at some point on Netflix. But she was very involved in that, if I remember right. And I don't
think so. I
if
think
they
she does show up.
if they do bring Punisher proper into this, I could see her getting tied into it again that way. But I don't remember. I don't think we finished the Punisher series.
Mhm.
I'll have to do that sometime.
Well, that second season was rough.
Was
But,
it?
I mean,
Maybe that's why.
it was enjoyable enough, but like, yeah.
Maybe that's why.
I think the main thing is that I really had, I guess I had high hopes for what could be done with the Jigsaw character. And then they just made it weird. It just
Right.
wasn't as good as it could have been.
Right. I'm so ugly. It's like, dude, the scars almost made you more handsome. What are you talking about? Like, that makeup job
Right.
sucks.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I remember being very
Yeah.
disappointed in that. Anyway,
But that. Wait, no, keep going.
I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think we actually talked a lot about 3 episodes pretty well. So
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It does make me want to go back and watch more. So like if that's what they were doing, is they're like, people who maybe haven't seen this, maybe you get into this and you go, oh, they're really talking about stuff I haven't seen. And
that's kind of a
this character
smart.
seems to have a lot to it, like Vanessa seems to really, what's her story?
That's kind of a smart way to do it, because I think the MCU loses people. At this point, they lose people. Everything's so kind of like, I like that the properties got weird and separate in a way, but it's so weird and separate that it loses people. And if you haven't seen this movie, then this is going to be confusing. But I think it's super smart to like, yeah, it ties into Echo a little bit and some other stuff, but for the most part, it definitely directly mostly ties to the Daredevil series, which is tonally very similar to this new series. So if somebody's watching this new one, it's like, huh, they've got like 3 seasons of several series, I guess, technically, of similar stuff that will be right up their alley. That's kind of smart, as opposed to like, I don't know. Echo was similar, but had a different vibe. Hawkeye, like, I don't know. They seem kind of disparate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every series seems to be trying something different. But the Tracksuit Mafia shows up again. That's interesting.
Right. Yep. I did like the Hawkeye series.
Yeah, it was fun. And they're talking about doing a second season. I don't know what they would do with it, but they were talking about it, I guess. It was a surprise to me. Or I saw a news article on it.
Rumor has it they're setting up basically like a Young Avengers type group.
So
which would be, what's her name from
from
the Hawkeye series? I can't remember her name.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah, I think so. I think she'd be involved in that.
Yeah, she would be. Wiccan would be.
Yes.
Hulkling would be, which would be interesting because they brought him back from Scar.
There was some concept artist uploaded a bunch of stuff to, I don't know if it was their Behance page or whatever. And that worked for Marvel or worked for Disney or whoever. And so people caught wind of that and was like, huh, there's a lot of like crazy Secret Wars related stuff in here. And some of it's pretty wild. I don't know how much of it, I don't know how legit any of that is in terms of like leaks, but yeah, interesting, like what they're maybe. But they had one of the art pieces where there's She-Hulk and the Hulk and a younger Hulk in what looked like a village of other Hulks. So uh, I feel like
season 2 of She-Hulk gets weird.
Right. I like when it gets weird, but I think there's a risk because people like that third Ant-Man. I don't think a lot of people didn't really like it. And I think it's because it went way out there.
Yeah. Again, I didn't hate it, but it should have been a show.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Thor Ragnarok went way out there, but it was good. I think you can go way out there. It's just got to like the Ant-Man 3 story.
Can't
was
go
like,
Love and Thunder.
Right.
When you start knowing about how Krunk makes, is it Krunk? I don't even remember what his name is. How he makes rock babies. Like, that's a little much.
People really did not like that one at all.
I didn't totally hate it, but it was weird. It went a little too far.
It felt like a first draft. That was my whole thing. Like, I wish it were better.
Yeah.
Back to Daredevil. They really, he's the only Daredevil, man. I'm feeling like, man, who else gets that kind of treatment? I don't know. Like, he's the only one. Cause even in, because this is the only other thing I watched, and I kind of saved it for this on purpose, but like I finally finished Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and Charlie Cox is Daredevil in that too.
Really?
You know, and he's the only one that gets that treatment. You know, like everybody else's cast is a different casting. You know, it's not Tom Holland. It's all new voices on that show except for Daredevil.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean,
even in what's the Ryan Reynolds, they had Electro, but they didn't have.
There was no Affleck, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's the only MCU Daredevil so far. So,
and honestly, was the She-Hulk series out at that point? Maybe it was before No Way Home.
No, I think No Way Home was the very first time we saw him when he caught the brick.
That's a pretty weird, like, honestly, I mean, he was popular, like that show did really well, but that's a weird pull to have him in there in the first place.
Yeah.
I think.
And then we had him in Echo.
Yep.
Just in that one episode, just in the flashback.
Right. And of course in She-Hulk, but that's like, kind of non-canon almost.
Yeah. Well, she feels like an unreliable Daredevil a little bit. She feels like a Deadpool kind of thing, where it's like, it may or may not be canon. It doesn't matter because it's his telling of it. So who knows if it's real?
Did you ever, since we're on the topic, have you seen the latest Captain America movie?
I haven't yet. No.
Me either.
I would like to see it. I guess I kind of disappointed myself for not seeing it in theaters. But I'll probably wait at this point because it's got to be just about done in theaters, right?
I would think so. I don't think it's. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily not necessarily a flop, but people don't seem to love it.
I'm not hearing a lot about it, so
I didn't even know it existed.
Right,
Marvel will probably consider it a flop. It's got Harrison Ford in it. They had to pay Harrison Ford money.
Yep.
So they're probably going to be like,
He's
Sam
been
Wilson.
popping up. Harrison Ford's been popping up a lot recently. I feel like maybe padding the old retirement fund or something. Like at a certain point, it's just like, crap. Or you got a taste of that like Star Wars money again. And he's like, it'd be good to make a bunch of money before I'm way too old.
Well, have I talked about Shrinking? I think it's Shrinking.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Shrinking. It's a Apple TV show, and that's one of the big things that he's done since coming back. You know, it's like, it's got one of the guys that helps write on Ted Lasso is one of the head writers of Shrinking, and it's got Jason Segel as one of the main characters. And the crux of the show is that this psychiatrist guy, he kind of loses it when his wife dies, and so he just starts doing the things that like the therapeutic community never does. like you try to help them work through it, but he just like forces them to do some things like he gets this one veteran guy that's having a hard time. He gets him into jujitsu. Like he joins a jujitsu class with him and stuff, and like he lets him move into his house. Like all these obvious conflict of interest. Like you wouldn't have one of your patients living in your like subletting from you, like no. So yeah, and that's kind of the crux of the show. And the reason I mention it at all is Harrison Ford is awesome in it. He's such a cranky old dude, and he plays like a surprisingly emotional but curmudgeonly old man, and it's just awesome. It's maybe my favorite Harrison Ford thing ever, and he's done some cool stuff.
Right,
but, like old man Harrison Ford is kind of hilarious and heartbreaking at the same time.
Sure. Okay. Apple TV. I'm never going to subscribe to that, but there are shows on there I want to watch.
Yeah. I've heard Severance is really good, and dogs can't stand it.
Dogs can't.
Because the score has like too high of a frequency or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard Severance has been blowing up this season. I've heard lots of stuff about not like story stuff, but it's everywhere. So I'm very curious about it.
When then Monarch is on there too, and I haven't had a chance to watch that, but they reference it heavily in that Kong X Godzilla or Godzilla X Kong.
And I've heard, I don't ever hear about it, but what the little I have heard is that it's good.
Yeah.
So weird. I mean, Apple's still pouring money into these. They definitely seem like they're not making cheap stuff. It seems like very expensive projects. So they must have the subscribers to sustain it.
They must.
Still doing it.
It's kind of amazing.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. You know what else is amazing?
What?
Replicators. And we're one step closer to having them because researchers...
Like Star Trek?
Huh? Yeah,
like
researchers at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology have developed a new 3D printer that creates and cooks food at the same time. Using graphene, AI, and lasers, the engineers were able to overcome the safety concerns that had been raised about other 3D printing food, namely the exposure to bacteria while it was printing. So with the addition of the laser and the AI program, each layer is heated while it is printing up to 278.6 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface and at least 221 degrees Fahrenheit on the sides, effectively killing bacteria and keeping the food like in shape. Because before what they were doing was they were printing a layer, cooking it, then putting another layer on top of that and cooking it, but everything would get misshapen. So this way it maintains the food shape, but kills off the bacteria while it's cooking. So, and it also, they found that it has less bacteria after a period of time than it would if it were cooked in the oven, which is interesting. And it also only uses 14 watts of power, which is a fraction of what a conventional oven or an air fryer would use. And researchers suspect that there might be use in other industries as well, like medical maybe, or industrial. They're not sure. But that's it.
Yeah, food replicator. I mean, they'd have to have substance to go in there, but I do like the idea of just printing cooked food.
Yeah.
Graphene, man, making a comeback. We haven't heard about graphene in a while.
Oh, I hear about it all the time. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it. But I'm not impressed until they make a maker. When they make a maker, then I'll be happy.
From
Transmetropolitan.
Yeah, Transmetropolitan.
Because that's the idea. You throw your trash in, it breaks it down, and then makes whatever you want.
Just don't throw drugs in there.
Because then it becomes a drug addict. But
right, man. Yeah, that's the problem. Is like, yeah, I want some things from Transmetropolitan, but be careful.
right.
You don't want everything from Transmetropolitan.
Everything's a little sleazy in Transmetropolitan.
Yeah.
Even the main character, Spider Jerusalem, wasn't that his name?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like, that's weird. It's a weird name.
Yep.
We talked about comics.
Holy moly!
I mean, we
a
kind of.
lot of that, actually, a lot of comic adjacent talk with
Mhm.
Daredevil. So
Yeah, I felt good going to this one. I was like, yeah, Daredevil, Born Again. That'll get us into some comics for sure.
yeah.
Somebody should make a cartoon of that comic, Transmetropolitan.
Transmetropolitan.
Yeah, it wouldn't not real life,
Ooh.
but a cartoon
Man,
one.
man, that feels like an HBO, like a Max
Yeah.
series.
Right. Right.
Yeah, of course. It's not anything that would.
That's a Vertigo title, right? So that would be within their purview. I would think.
Right. Because that's DC owns that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Unless they had like a creator owned type deal going on, but I don't think that's necessarily the case with a lot of Vertigo stuff. I could be wrong. Because everybody's favorite Neil Gaiman, he definitely had like. I mean, there were still DC ties.
Was Sandman Vertigo?
I think so. I think it was released under.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah.
But
it does still have the like Warner Brothers logo. It just
you're right.
to be a
You're
Netflix
right.
property.
So maybe it is still more owned DC. It's not like an Image or something, where
Right.
a lot of it's creator owned. That's Image, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I read a lot of Image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about Tank Girl? That's another one that they could make a good cartoon out of.
Yeah, they should. I mean, like,
right.
The time is ripe for it too.
Exactly.
Like, that kind of counterculture stuff right now would like probably do gangbusters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially for the feminism angle, because.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anything else, Jesse? You got anything you want to mention before we bounce out?
I feel like there's something I was gonna say that I should have wrote down before the show, and so I'm gonna guess no.
Okay.
Guess not. Oh no! I remember what it was. I am going to be on the Covert Nerd podcast, and we're going to talk about Cobra Kai. It's on the books. So
nice.
This weekend I'm going to do a recording, and so look for that episode to be coming out soon. It's always fun to talk with Lee and Ruth about the thing, and so I think we've done it with pretty much every season, and so or maybe we did season 1 and 2 together, but we've done every season since. So now we're finally we're gonna put it to bed. We're gonna put
tradition. You got to
everything. We're gonna find peace in the valley. Peace in the valley.
I'm glad. I guess I do feel kind of bad for falling out of like our immediate podcast community, but I'm glad Covert Nerd's still going. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Lee. Like I've talked to Lee not too long ago on whenever we last did
Was it You Choose podcast?
Yeah, You Choose podcast, which was a while ago now, I know, but
sure.
Anyway.
I don't know how covert it is, though.
Yeah, it's pretty overt nerd.
Overt nerd.
Yeah.
Just start a companion podcast to it.
Oh, yeah.
We're making imprints for other shows.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tomorrow night is Friday, which means I will be on Helix Rock Radio. If you're listening to Helix Rock Radio now, I'll be here tomorrow night, roughly the same time. And by roughly, I mean exactly 8 p.m. Central. It's just Grawlix is roughly 8 p.m. Central.
It's a little rough around here.
Right.
We're a little rough around the edges.
Play it fast and loose, or slow and loose. Spinning some metal, jumping back to new releases. I don't even know. I do know some songs I'll be playing tomorrow, but I don't even know most of the set yet because they're not released till tomorrow. It's how I do it. If you like extreme metal, Helix Rock Radio, the URL is rockradio.live. Check it out tomorrow night, Friday night, every Friday night. Otherwise, you can come back here Thursday nights or go to grawlixpodcast.com and hit the link to our YouTube channel because that's where we stream to now.
Yep.
Other than the radio. Yep.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great everything.
Everything.
Just all of it.
Everything.
Everything.
Spring forward, am I right?
Yeah. This one snuck up on me. I mean, they tend to, but like I had no idea until it was the day. Somebody told me. I was like, oh, I didn't